She reports from NFL sidelines, rides on elephants, and hangs out with orangutans. She's Inside Edition's Megan Alexander. For the past 10 years, she's built a career in an industry that oftentimes conflicts with Christian values. In her book, Faith in the Spotlight, Megan shares why she chose a job in television and gives examples of how and why believers should lead in the workplace. Well, joining me now is Inside Edition's Megan Alexander. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Terry.
We mentioned you chose a career in television, but it's not so easy to just say, gee, I think I'll work in TV and go get a job. How did that open up for you?
Yeah, well, from a young age, I enjoyed performing, telling stories, communicating, but I was involved with a lot of different things growing up. Played sports, tried out for the school play, music, you got it. But then, as I decided what I wanted to do, I wasn't necessarily overly encouraged in my high school or in my faith to pursue this career. But I had a really neat conversation in high school with a friend of mine. His father's a pastor, and we were talking about what we wanted to study in college, and I sort of apologized. Oh, I think I want to get into TV. It's not a pastor, it's not a doctor. And he said, hey, Megan, every job is a ministry. Every job could be a mission field. And then, one thing sort of leads to the next, but at the end of the day, it comes down to hard work and tenacity. I cold called radio stations, finally got a classical radio station to give me the midnight to 6 a.m. shift. So you take what you can get. Yeah.
Paying your dues.
Exactly. And then one thing leads to the next, and you show up early, you go home late, and you just try to prove yourself.
Yeah. That area of work is often challenging of the values that you and I would hold together as believers. Have you been challenged along the way with things that conflicted with your faith, and how did you handle it?
Sure. Well, getting into the industry, first I wanted to be known for good work. I want to be an excellent reporter, an excellent host, do the best that I can do. And I have a chapter in the book called A Seat at the Table. I want to encourage believers to take a seat at the table, do excellent work, get in the room when a decision is made. But then along the way, every day is different in terms of figuring out how your faith is going to apply. And Terry, honestly, that's why I wrote the book, because I would have loved a guide going into this industry and figuring out what that means. So we tackle all kinds of practical things like negotiating a contract, asking for a raise, finding a mentor, dealing with workplace drama, what it means for your family as a working woman. How's that going to work with childcare and so forth? So yeah, in terms of on the job, I would say trying to be yourself in the moment. I have a quick story for you. At Inside Edition, we often cover the Academy Awards, what the stars wear on the red carpet. A particular reality star had walked the red carpet in a white dress that it was incredibly revealing, showing a lot of skin. And as the female reporter on the show, they often ask me to model that dress the next day, find a replica that's much less expensive than what the stars were. But I just wasn't comfortable. But instead of just saying no, because I can't stop the train, I'm on a show, I enjoy everybody I work with, I said, hey, how about a plan B? Let's go with this dress. I know we can make this work. I got some pushback. No, we want you to wear this dress from the stylist. I said, I know we can work the problem here. So that's my passion, is there's a way that you can still live out your faith and stay, in the job, values, true to yourself, but be a team player.
We saw a piece earlier from Facebook where a dad was so encouraging his young daughter. Who have been the people in your life who've inspired you to hold fast to what you believe, but to keep pressing forward with what you feel called to?
Sure. Again, first and foremost, it was that pastor that told me every job is a mission field. Words like that matter. They make a big impact on our lives. My parents told me to go for it. They said, we don't know anybody in the industry, so we can't help you. But go for your dreams and goals, be who you're called to be. And then just along the way, finding mentors from afar, people that I admire, working women that I think do a good job maintaining it. Deborah Norville, who's the anchor of our show, is a big role model.
What about the red carpet? You talked about the dress that was revealing, but just in general, everything about that is so surreal compared to day-to-day life, and yet there you are having to stand next to people who are almost like royalty. Do you feel insecure from time to time?
Absolutely. I'm human. Everybody is. And in those moments, you need to take a step back and remember that everybody has bad hair days, that a lot of those photos are airbrushed. And I really want to lift the veil with this book, Terry, and remind people that, we think those celebrities have life perfect. But hey, they have a hair and makeup team and 12 hours to get ready.
Yeah, if you can't look good after that, you can't look good.
Right, exactly. But I also want to encourage people that, you know, you don't have to look like somebody else. I have had people say to me in my career, don't try out for that. You don't have the look. And I said, hey, I just want to get some feedback. I just want to go for the experience. And then in the moment, the casting director said, oh, well, I didn't think of you for this role, but yeah, maybe you would work. I want young people, especially women, to know you're made exactly as you're supposed to be.
Speaking of looking back, you know, the last time we had a chance to visit, you had taken such a stand on purity and not really, I guess, an issue today or a position today that would be common in our culture, and yet you stood up strongly for it. You talk about it in the book, you know, the significance of it. Talk a little bit about the impact we can have when we're willing to stand up and be counted in the midst of a place that might not share our belief system.
Sure. Well, that was a personal decision that I never really thought I would talk about publicly. I made that decision early on and found a husband that agreed with me on that, a future husband that eventually became my husband. But we decided, you know, people aren't talking about it enough, and young people are faced with so much pressure nowadays. It's just not a part of the conversation. And sometimes your personal choices affect your professional life. And my husband and I said, hey, if it encourages one person, it's worth it. And once I spoke out about it, Terry, there have been such neat moments where people have pulled me aside and said, hey, I thought I was the only one. Thank you for speaking out. That's why we decided to include it in this book, because again, you want faith to be in all areas of your life.
And not just for speaking out and making the issue public, but for letting young people know you can still move forward in what you want to do and hold on to your values.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
The book, just out, Faith in the Spotlight, what's the takeaway? What do you want people to walk away from after they read this?
Yeah, well, the idea for this book came from a pastor in Seattle that wrote to me and said, I have a church full of young, ambitious women with big career goals and dreams, but they're worried they're going to need to compromise their faith to get ahead. I don't have a lot of people to point them towards, but I know of you. I wrote this book for them, Terry. I tried to tackle it from a variety of angles. I believe in order to change culture, we must engage directly with culture and do it with excellence.
Comes out of relationship. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
What a great word. If you'd like to learn more about thriving while holding on to your faith, get Megan's book. It's available wherever books are sold. The title is Faith in the Spotlight. Plus, check out our Facebook page right after the show. We have a special behind-the-scenes interview with Megan, and so we're thrilled to have her here. Thanks, Megan.
Thanks, Terry.